Yes, good then. So today you are going to learn about vapor pressure of liquid solutions. So you can see for your syllabus you have two parts. One is liquids in liquid and the other one is solid in liquid. Okay, so these vapor pressure of the liquid solutions you are going to learn, where the solute and the solvent both are taken as liquid, and the other case we are taking solid as the solute and they are dissolved in the liquid to form the solution. Okay, so now before going into this, okay, first you need to know, right, what is vapor pressure. And then to know vapor pressure, you need to know one more term. Okay, so let us learn that first and then we will go into this topic. Okay, so this is your main topic actually. But to learn about this topic, you need to know certain basic things. Okay, so I'm starting with that first. The first thing what you need to know is what is evaporation. Now, what do you mean by evaporation? This you might have learned in your high school also, what is an evaporation process is. You can see this picture which I have put here. Evaporation. Okay, it is self-explanatory actually. You can see here you have a liquid. Okay, down you can see there is a liquid, and then this liquid is going in the form of a vapor. Okay, they are just getting converted. So if a liquid gets converted in the form of their gas, that process itself is called as evaporation. Okay, so evaporation usually takes place in a open vessel. Okay, so if I have a vessel and then you have kept water, you will see after some times the level of the water may decrease. Okay, so why that the level of the water has decreased? Because they have taken the temperature, whatever temperature you have kept this water, they have utilized that temperature, and the molecules which are present on the surface, okay, they have just escaped in the form of a gas. Okay, so whatever molecules were present in this liquid, they have taken that energy. Okay, they have acquired more kinetic energy, and due to that more energy, they have just escaped in the form of a gas. Okay, so this process is called as evaporation. Okay, so evaporation is simple, the process where the liquid is changing into a gas. Yeah, when you boil the water also evaporation takes place, correct. Okay, when you boil anything, that time also evaporation takes place. So remember, evaporation happens only in the open vessel. Okay, so in the open vessel, whenever a liquid gets converted in the form of a gas, and if they are just escaping out and there is no gas present over here, okay, no much of the molecules are present, they have just gone out. Okay, so then that's evaporation process. Now this evaporation you can observe in your daily life also. You might have seen the water, okay, the sea water getting evaporated. So as the sunlight falls over there, the surface level water molecules just escape out, and then finally they go and condense back. Okay, so this is the daily life example which happens. Now these evaporation depends on certain factors. Okay, so evaporation depends on the surface area. Suppose if you have taken a narrow vessel, okay, like in this first case, you can see the vessel is quite narrow. So in that case, the number of water molecules which can escape out will be less. Okay, you can even imagine a test tube. If I take a test tube, you know how narrow a test tube is. Okay, and inside this, if you have filled water, the surface area available to us is very less. Okay, so the evaporation which will take place also will be lesser. But if you take a larger area, the larger ones, there you will see that the number of molecules which will escape out, the number of molecules which will get converted in the form of a gas, that also will be larger. Okay, so evaporation becomes larger in the case of the larger vessel, and it will be less in the case of a smaller vessel. So it depends on the surface area. Okay, first factor for evaporation. Second one, it also depends on temperature. Okay, so suppose if you supply more amount of temperature, more will be the amount of heat absorbed by that particular liquid, and they will get more kinetic energy. So when they get more kinetic energy, more number of molecules will escape out. Have you seen during the summer season, you will see that the outside, okay, whenever you put little amount of water, they will escape out easily. But during the rainy season, you will find that the number of water molecules, no, which will escape out, okay, outside, it doesn't become dry that easily because moisture is there, temperature is very less. So when the temperature is very less, it is little difficult for them to go out in the form of the vapors. Okay, so then it will take time. So during the summer season, you see that the clothes also becomes dry very faster. That's because of faster evaporation, because of the heat. They absorb the heat energy faster, and then the process will be, okay, in a faster rate. So temperature is one more factor. Second factor, temperature. Okay, and the other one, it depends on kind of a liquid also. Okay, it depends on the nature of the liquid, evaporation. Because if you take now water and alcohol, between the water and water, no, you know, there is a hydrogen bonding, so force of attraction between them is quite higher. Okay, and between the alcohol molecules, even they have hydrogen bonding, but the number of hydrogen bonding is less in alcohol than compared to the water. Okay, so you will see that alcohol will evaporate faster than compared to the water. Okay, so alcohol evaporation is faster. That's because of weak intermolecular force of attraction. Here the force of attraction is less. Okay, in the case of alcohol it is less. Okay, in the case of water it is higher. Even acetone, you know about acetone, right? You might have heard about acetone. Acetone is nail polish remover. See, if you take water and if you keep acetone and observe the level of both the liquid, okay, you can keep it for 1 day, and then after 1 day you can see the level of both the liquid. You will see that acetone might have escaped faster. Okay, acetone will escape out faster than compared to the water, because between them the force of attraction is very weak. So due to that weak force of attraction, they will escape out faster. Okay, so evaporation also depends on the intermolecular force of attraction. I believe it is clear. You can make a note of all this. Yes, now we'll see the next one. Suppose if this evaporation is done in a closed vessel. Okay, now if I keep a lid on the vessel which I have taken, liquid is there, then I have a vessel, and then if I keep a lid on top of this, you're closing this vessel. Okay, so in that case, when you allow this liquid to evaporate, okay, you know, initially the molecules, okay, from the liquid, they will go into this space which is available. Okay, they will evaporate into this space which is available to us, correct? No, initially the rate will be lower, okay, less number of molecule, but as the time passes by, you will see that more and more molecules will go into the available space. Okay, so you see more number of evaporation, more number of vaporization will take place. So here you can see the picture which I have displayed. Initially the rate is very less, okay, and then after some time you see more number of molecules, they will go into a forward because space is available. So these molecules from the liquid state will go into the gaseous state. Now once the space becomes totally full, okay, when this space over here, okay, it is completely full over here, then the liquid which has gone into the space over here, these molecules which are there, no, yeah, the molecules which have gone into this empty space, they are in the gas phase now. Okay, so they will hit one another because they can't go out anywhere. Okay, they are confined to this area itself, plus the because the vessel over here is closed, so they can't escape out. In the evaporation case, okay, when I have taken the open vessel, you have seen that gases could escape out, so they could not exert any pressure. But in this case, what happens is when they escape out into this particular empty space, when they become saturated over there, okay, when the molecules becomes too high, then this molecule which are there, no, one molecule will start hitting the another molecule and they lose their kinetic energy. When they lose their kinetic energy, then this gas itself will start coming out in the form of a liquid. Okay, so whatever evaporation or vaporization has taken place, at the same rate condensation also will start taking place. Okay, and this stage is where we call as equilibrium has been established. And if you remember equilibrium, when I had told you one important condition for an equilibrium to get established is that they should be in the closed vessel. Okay, only in the closed vessel, because especially for the gases and the liquid, they can escape out. Okay, they can take certain energy and escape out. So if you want the equilibrium has to be established, then it should be in the closed vessel. Okay, so in this closed vessel, when they when the molecules of the liquid go into the gas phase and they become totally full over there, they become saturated over there, then this one molecule will start hitting the another molecule, okay, because they are gases, no, randomly when they are moving, they will colloid with one another. When they colloid with one another, they lose their kinetic energy and they will start condensing back, okay. So at this point we say equilibrium has been established. So in this case, what happens is, when we say that equilibrium has established, when rate of evaporation becomes equal to rate of condensation, okay. So if you have a water in a bottle, okay, half water is there, okay, and half of the bottle is empty, then if you keep that, okay, closing the lid, and if you keep it for one whole day, you will see that water droplets will be formed. Have you noticed this? Okay, so why is that happening? Because when you close the lid, this liquid molecules cannot escape out. So at that time, whatever liquid, okay, from that liquid solvent in the bottle, whatever liquid was kept, they have gone into the empty space, and then when the space becomes full, they colloid with one another and they start condensing. This even happens when we do the cooking, okay. So that time also, this when we are doing, okay, that time you are increasing the temperature, but the phenomenon is same, no. When you close the lid, they can't escape out, so that time whatever liquid has gone into the gaseous phase, they colloid with one another, and since they don't have any space available, they start condensing on the top of the liquid, okay. So at this point, the equilibrium will be established. Now when the equilibrium is established, then these gases which are present over here, okay, on the top of this, okay, over here on top of this liquid, whatever gases is present, they will exert certain pressure, okay. So that pressure is what we call as vapor pressure, okay. Understand, when the vapor pressure will be exerted, not any vessel you have taken, open vessel, and then you say that gases is exerting a pressure, then that is not a vapor pressure, okay. When you have that particular liquid, they have gone into the empty space, okay, in the closed vessel, important, in the closed vessel, when the evaporation, when the rate of that evaporation becomes equal to rate of the condensation, okay, evaporation becomes equal to condensation, that time whatever pressure is exerted by that vapors over here, that pressure is called as vapor pressure, okay. So I believe it is clear, and you are measuring vapor pressure at particular temperature, okay. Suppose if you are carrying out this reaction at room temperature, whatever vapors are present over here, the pressure exerted by them, that will be vapor pressure, okay. So it can be calculated. You can connect one manometer over here and calculate the amount of pressure exerted by this. So for a particular liquid, the vapor pressure at one particular temperature will remain as a constant, okay, because equilibrium has established, so you will get a constant value. But if you increase the temperature, remember, if you're going to increase the temperature, then what will happen, you think? If I increase the temperature, then more number of molecules will go into the vapor phase, correct? No, the number of molecules will be more. So when number of molecules becomes more, the vapor pressure also will be higher, okay, if you increase the temperature. That comes under factor, but this is what is vapor pressure, the pressure exerted by the vapors when they are in equilibrium with the liquid at a particular temperature, okay. Yes, copy this down now. Yes, now we'll look into the factors which affect the vapor pressure. So first one in that is the nature of the liquid, okay, factors affecting the vapor pressure. So nature of the liquid. So basically here we are talking about what intermolecular force of attraction they are having between the liquid. Okay, so here you can see I have taken two liquid. One is alcohol. On the left side you can see one is alcohol. On the right side you can see there is water. Okay. Now as I told you in the case of evaporation also depends on the nature of the liquid what you are taking. So here vaporization, okay, or the vapor pressure which are produced, they also depend on the nature of the liquid, okay, basically the intermolecular force of attraction. So in case of water, the force of attraction is quite strong, okay, because of hydrogen bonding. Because of hydrogen bonding, the force of attraction between them is very strong. So due to that strong force of attraction, the amount of vapors which will be produced over here, okay, that will be less, okay. So vapor pressure automatically will be little less because of strong force of attraction, okay, strong intermolecular force of attraction between the solvent molecules here. Now come to this alcohol. Coming to the alcohol, I said the amount of intermolecular force of attraction over here, okay, that is little weaker. Okay, in alcohol case, it's weaker compared to water. So due to that weaker intermolecular force of attraction, if the force is weaker between two molecules, then they will escape out easily, no? Little temperature is enough for them to escape out in the form of a gas. So here more number of gases will be formed. Okay, in this empty space, you will see more number of molecules are there. And when more number of molecules are present, more will be the vapor pressure of this particular solvent. Okay, so in case of alcohol, you will see due to their weaker forces, the vapor pressure of this particular solvent will be higher than compared to water. Okay, so you can just write, after writing nature of the liquid, you can write if they have weaker, okay, if there is weaker intermolecular forces, then they tend to escape fast. Okay, they tend to escape fast. If they are escaping faster, that means the vapor pressure is going to be very high. Okay, this is only for you to know because they will not ask you. It's a basic idea which you should know. Okay, it's like common sense in all this. So weaker intermolecular force of attraction, these molecules will try to escape faster. When they escape faster, vapor pressure of that particular solvent is going to be very high. Okay, but if they have otherwise, if they have a strong intermolecular force of attraction, then it's difficult to break. No, see, imagine if two people, okay, you can take in terms of human beings, if they have a strong bonding between them, breaking that is difficult, correct? No, but if they have a strong weaker bond, then breaking that will be easier. Okay, so strong, difficult, so less number of molecules will be present in the vapor phase, so vapor pressure also will be lesser. Okay, so then escape less, they tend to escape less if they have strong force, then the vapor pressure of that particular solvent will be lesser. Okay, it will be less. So this is one factor. See, I'll repeat once again the factor affecting the vapor pressure. Okay, I believe you understood what is vapor pressure. The vapors which are formed above that liquid, okay, when they are in equilibrium. So when that vapors exert a pressure, that pressure is called as vapor pressure. Okay, so we are now discussing what are the factors which will affect the vapor pressure. Means in which case the vapor pressure will be higher, which case the vapor pressure will be lower. That is what we are discussing. So now here you can see I have taken two solvent. You can see here one side I said there is alcohol and the other side I have water. Okay, so in the water, no, there is hydrogen bonding. You know how water molecules are. You have oxygen and then there are two hydrogen. Plus there are two lone pair of electrons also. So it is said one water molecule can form four hydrogen bond actually. Okay, one water molecule can form four hydrogen bonding. So here like that, imagine the network, huge network of bonding will be formed. No, so that means breaking that will be little difficult for them and then going into a gaseous phase. Compared to this one, alcohol, if I take, see, I'll take ethyl alcohol. Ethyl alcohol formula is like this, C2H5 and then I have OH. Okay, so you can see here this one hydrogen directly attached to one electronegative atom. There is only one like this. So only one bonding is actually possible here. Okay, so like this, alcohol can form one bonding with one another. So which will be easier to break and go into the vapor phase. So you can see here only one bonding is existing, whereas here one molecule is having four bonding. So breaking over in the water case is difficult and going into the vapor phase. Okay, so here you will see in the case of water, the vapors which are formed here, okay, the vapors which are formed over here will be little less then compared to the alcohol, whereas alcohol molecule will escape out easily at the same temperature if you are measuring. Okay, imagine room temperature, you are doing the calculation of vapor pressure of both the solvent, you will see water's vapor pressure will be less than compared to the alcohol's vapor pressure will be higher because weak force. If they have weak force, weak intermolecular force, they will escape out faster. Okay, so that means more molecules of vapors will be present over here. This will be more here, okay, in the case of alcohol. So if they are more, if they are escaping out faster, they will be more in this empty space. Then more will be the pressure, no, exerted by them when the number is large. So here alcohol exerts more vapor pressure. Okay, you can see the measurement also here. When it was calculated in manometer, you can see around 100 mm they have got of mercury. Whereas in the case of water, they have got only 60, because the vapors formed were less in the case of water, whereas in the case of alcohol, the vapors formed were more. Reason is the force of attraction. Okay, so remember, weaker force, more weight, like vapor pressure, stronger force, less vapor pressure. Okay, we'll go for next one, temperature. How does temperature affect the vapor pressure? So if you take at a lower temperature, okay, you know temperature is less, so that means less number of molecules will go into the vapor phase. But if you increase the temperature, okay, when you increase the temperature, what happens? The kinetic energy will increase, no? They will get larger kinetic energy. So when they get more energy, more number of molecules will go into the vapor phase. Okay, so remember, when the temperature is higher, when you increase the temperature, these molecules which are present in the liquid state, they get more energy. When they get more energy, they will go into the gaseous phase. Okay, so when they go into the gaseous phase, you will see more number of molecules in the gaseous phase. They will exert more pressure. Okay, so these gases will exert more pressure. So that means we can say that when temperature increases, when you increase the temperature, vapor pressure of that solvent also will increase. Okay, when temperature is decreased, or when you take a lower temperature, the vapor pressure of that solvent also will be lesser. Okay, so this is how the temperature affects. Okay, normal temperature, you see less number of vapors. When you increase the temperature, okay, just like I said in the case of cooking, if you take water and just close the lid and keep, it will take some time for the vapors to be developed. But if you increase the temperature, you see easily the droplets will be formed, no? Easily the equilibrium will be attained faster, because more number of vapors will go into the empty space. Okay, so vapor pressure will be higher when you increase the temperature. This you can just write. Okay, next point, you can just write like this itself. Okay, as a key point, it's easy for you to learn also. Write it down. Yes. So done, no students. Now you know, okay, you have got an idea what is vapor pressure and how the vapor pressure is getting affected. Okay. So now we will go to our main topic. Okay. What is there for you? Vapor pressures of liquid solutions. So we are going to learn this one first. Liquids in liquids. Okay. Means you are taking two liquid, solute and the solvent, both are liquid, and then you are calculating the vapor pressure. Okay. In this particular solution. So we will start with that first. You can give this heading, okay? Yes, we'll start with first one, vapor pressure of liquids in liquid. So we are going to take two volatile liquid, okay, where the solute and the solvent, okay, both of them are volatile in nature, which combine together to give you the solution. Now, what is this volatile meaning? Volatile means the substance which will evaporate easily, okay, which will escape out easily in the form of a gas. Okay, so such solutions are called as, or such substance are called as volatile substance. Like I said, acetone, if you keep acetone outside, no, usually have you seen when the girls apply nail polish, they usually close the lid easily, like immediately they will close the lid, they will not keep it open. Okay, because if you keep it outside like that, no, it will become hard. The reason is they escape out easily. Okay, they are quite volatile in nature. So due to this reason only, acetone usually used in washing purpose, because if you put acetone, no, cleaning of the lab instruments are there, no, if you clean with acetone, it will evaporate easily. If you clean with water, no, then the water droplets will stay there itself. It takes time to evaporate. Okay, so acetone is one such solvent which is quite volatile in nature. Okay, very volatile than compared to water. Okay, so we are going to talk about two liquids which are volatile in nature. Okay, solute and solvent, both of them. So now here you can see I have taken first component, this blue color you can see. Okay, this is one component which I have taken here. So now imagine they are in that closed container. Now all that vapor pressure concept you have to get now. Okay. So if you have understood, try to apply. Now here I have one liquid. So it's obvious that after some time this will go into the empty space and then they will become saturated, and then after that they will colloid with one another, and then this gases will exert a pressure. Okay. That pressure will be called as the vapor pressure. So now here if I label this component as 1, then whatever pressure is exerted by them, that is written as P1 naught. Okay. You can see here upper script we are using P1 naught. So this naught indicates for the pure solvent, because I have now here only one liquid. Okay, only this blue color kind of a liquid you can see here, only that gas molecules will be present on the surface of the liquid, and only they will be exerting the pressure. Okay, so then I have only one kind of the liquid present, so I can write it as only P1 naught. Only they will be exerting that pressure. Okay, so I've written this as P1 naught. Now we will take the next liquid. This red ones you can see here. Okay, that is the second kind of a liquid, second liquid which we have taken. So now here again same thing happens. No, they will also go into the vapor phase and then they will exert a pressure. So I have only these red color molecules which are present, only they will be exerting a pressure. So that pressure I am going to take as P2 naught. Okay, so P2 naught is the vapor pressure of this only component. Okay, pure component, that is red component, and P1 is the vapor pressure only of the blue component. So it is not. Okay, now there is no impurities present, they are in the pure state. Okay, now if I mix both of this, if I mix this two liquid, then what will happen to the vapor pressure? What do you think will happen to the vapor pressure? Still, can I write this as P1 naught, and then the red ones I can write as P2 naught? Can I write like that? P1 naught and P2 naught, whatever pressure they are, just I want to know, can I write? Yes or no? You just tell me in that way. No, I can't write. I can't, no? Yeah, many of them are saying no. Why can't I write P1 naught? Because P1 naught is the vapor pressure, 100% vapor pressure of that only one solvent. When you have mixed, you know, little contribution, little pressure will be exerted by one solvent, okay, the first solvent, and some pressure will be exerted by the second solvent, correct, no? So then it will not be P1 naught and P2 naught. Then it will be combination of both. Okay, so then we can't write this as P1 naught and P2 naught. Instead of that, yeah, we write as P1. Okay, whatever pressure is exerted by this solvent, okay, blue one is written as P1, and whatever pressure is going to be exerted by P2, that will be written as, okay, P2 solvent, it is written as P2. Naught is not used. Okay, naught is only used when they are in the pure state. Now when you have combined, the force will be, okay, the pressure which is exerted, it is because of both of them. Okay, so it's a combination of both of them, little because of this blue and little because of the red. Okay, so it's not 100% now, so it's combination of both. Okay, I can write this as P1 plus P2. Yeah, very good, you have said it's a combination of both, so P1 plus P2 it will be. Okay, we are not using the not part here. So that will be the pressure. But what about the pressure exerted by one component? We will not talk about the total. Total I will talk about later. Okay. What about the one? First one. Okay. Two liquids will evaporate and both will exert the pressure. But one component will exert how much pressure? That is what we have to calculate. Okay. It's almost similar to what you have learned yesterday. Okay. But yesterday, in the solubility of gas was dissolved in the liquid. Now here you are having both of them in the liquid state, okay, which is going into the vapor phase, and then they are exerting a pressure. So now here we are calculating how much is the pressure which will be exerted by one liquid. Okay, one liquid will exert how much pressure. So that depends on the number of moles. Okay, so that will depend on how much moles of the liquid you have taken. Suppose if I tell you the first component which is there, okay, that first component I have taken as 1 mole, and the second component I have taken as 2 moles. Okay, second component is present with 2 moles, and the first component which is there, okay, that is 1 mole. Then you remember, no, more the number of moles, more is the mole fraction, then more will be the pressure exerted by them. Okay, so here second component which is there, they are having larger number of moles, so they will have more mole fraction. Okay, you can even calculate, no? If you want to calculate for first component, it will be 1 divided by 3 it will be, okay? 1 mole out of total number of mole, that is 1 plus 2. So it is 3, 1 by 3. And here it is 2 by 3. So who is exerting more pressure? This is exerting around 0.3. If I have to tell you in percentage, it will be 33.33. And this will be around 66.66. Okay, total 100%. Yeah, very good. If you are telling in terms of fraction, it is 0.3 here. And this is around 0.67. Okay, 7. I'll take 0.7 itself. Okay, in fraction. So you see, the one which are present in more number of moles, they are exerting more vapor pressure. Okay, because their mole fraction will be higher. So the one who are present in larger number, they will be exerting more pressure. That's it. Okay, imagine if I have now here, if there is one stone, just I'm taking a normal example. There is one stone, and if one male comes over here and 2 female are coming, so then female are in large quantity, so they will exert more. If you want to remove this stone, 2 females are there, so 2 are larger in number, so they can exert more force than compared to this one male. Okay, so that's how it is. So remember, more the number of moles, more is the mole fraction, and if mole fraction is larger, they will be exerting more pressure. Okay, so that was told by Rawls. So we have Rawls law saying that the partial vapor pressure, okay, the vapor pressure of one liquid, one component, if you are calculating, it will be called as partial because 50% is because of one component and 50% is because of another component. Okay, depending on the moles. So we call them as partial. Partial vapor pressure of that component is directly proportional to the mole fraction present in the solution. Okay, it is similar to what you have learned yesterday, Henry's law, but Henry's law was for the gases. The Rawls law is just a modification of that. Okay, it is taken for 2 solvents. So your partial vapor pressure is directly proportional to the mole fraction.